a little bit smaller this time. Okay. All right. Just make sure the, again, everybody, before you leave, you can fill out your name and your school actually on the sign-in sheet. Again, sheet of paper there in case you haven't heard as you're coming in. Okay, a few more. So there's going to be a sign-up sheet. You can fill it out actually when you leave. That's fine for that. And then there's another sheet with some information, some websites that I think are very useful to try to help you and the kids understand some of the material, and some books that I find good that, again, have examples here. They are listed on that sheet. It will be available on the website. Hello, welcome to Whether or Not. Hopefully that's where you guys are supposed to be here. And again, as I said before, is anybody else also mad that they actually did it on the Saturday after the show to be coming back, or before you guys even start back to school yet to do this? Yeah, I was mad. Okay, my name is Ray Buzenski. This is my first year actually doing Whether or Not, although I did coach it on a number of occasions back in the late 2000s and early this decade. I've had a lifelong interest in weather. Been a bit of a weather weenie, even back in high school days, but I took a little bit of a left turn and decided to become a pediatrician instead. So, going to do things a little bit differently there. We should probably see those. How many people actually have coached it previously, weather? So just a couple this time. Okay. All right. How many people this is their first experience at all doing Science Olympiad? Have fun. Okay? Okay, don't get too worked up about it. This is a chance just for the kids to actually learn a little bit more about science, develop an interest, and then go on from there. Don't get caught up about the winning and losing only. Okay? The goal is to try to actually understand and to have a little bit more love. You're going to adore actually the day of the tournament, actually back in May. It really is an exciting period. You guys will really get a kick out of it. The kids work really, really hard. So let's see, what I want to say about a couple of things that are going to be a little bit different from previous years. One, we're going to start actually the event with probably with 3 to 5 questions, depending on how things go with the district tournaments and how things flow, of something that's actually going to be projected for the kids. Okay, so it's going to be a generalized question, and all the kids will answer it there. It will not be a station move. Okay, so it can range anywhere from clouds that may be done and asking questions on that. Radars about very specific things like a hurricane or a tornado or something of that nature, and asking questions based on that. Maybe a diagram of how a front may move or something of that nature, and then asking questions based on that. Okay, so we want to try to actually start utilizing some of this multimedia material to be able to ask questions, since there's so much that's available, and a lot of kids are exposed to this material now through all our phone apps and TVs and everything else, and it seemed kind of silly just to ask questions only on simple pieces of paper. The rest of the test will still be station-based. Okay, it sounds like they're going to keep each station, each group down to 17 or 18, so it won't be as ungodly as it was last year. There was upwards of 22 teams in each session, which really made it difficult, although your kids actually did a great job of moving through. So that's one of those nice things. Again, just always explain to your kids, again, their time limit, usually it's a minute at each station, comes out to really be about 50 seconds. But again, just to move through, be respectful of the other kids around them, to be able to do it. If you're done with your questions, be quiet until we move on. The kids did a really great job. Okay, it will be pretty straightforward. I don't know how the other schools are doing. All I can do is my experience. I did actually moderate last year for the Macomb aspect, but I haven't done for the school district, so I don't know how the school buildings are set up and everything else, so I can't. It's going to be a new experience for me too. So I'm sure it's going to be fairly similar, at least I hope so. And hopefully this works well. Okay, we'll see. I'm going to start out probably with 3 in the district tournaments, and then depending on how things are doing, again, I may move it up to as many as 5. Okay, so I'll have to see how things run. All right, then make some little tweaks as we go along. The majority of questions, again, the rest of the test, as I said before, is strictly going to be as a in station setup. It's going to be all multiple choice questions. I'm not going to go through true and false questions. I just don't think those are very useful. We always overread them. I don't think it gets the information. Now, there may be a few questions, believe it or not, through multiple choice that may only be 2 answers, okay? But again, we'll be straightforward. Is it up or down? Does it go higher? Does it go lower? Okay, so the kids at least have an understanding. There won't be a lot, but there may be a few of those. Questions are going to be, now the scoring is going to be a little bit different in that we're going to grade the questions in level of difficulty from 1 to 3. It's going to be subjective on the subjective person, okay? So yes, it's going to be a little bit, potentially for some kids, some groups are going to, the 3-point question is going to be really easy to them, or another person it may not be. It may be more difficult. You can't do anything. What we want to try to do is to minimize the number of ties that we had last year. More than half of the medals across the board went to tiebreakers. I mean, that's how much on questions. So again, we want to try to see what we can do to get things set right away in the test and not having to go to tie-breaking questions. That's also going to be something that's a little bit different than last year. The first tiebreaker, people have done it last year. The previous years, the tiebreakers have been 2 questions at each state, in 2 separate stations. The first tiebreaker is going to be a matching scenario, okay? Anywhere from maybe 10 or 10 to 20 items, okay? That again, given a word and then actually a description and matching them up. So potential on that one are things like weather instruments, cloud types, watches, warnings, things of that nature, and then whoever hopefully gets it. So it's going to be a little bit more of an objective measure for that, because I had to do through the questions last year, and it was kind of painful. The kids were trying really hard, but sometimes it really came down to this is one word that may just be kind of a little bit answering the question that was asked. So it really got down to that. And I don't want to get to the kids. They've worked too hard for that, you know. So that's what we're going to do. The second tiebreaker will still be a question. I'm hoping that we'll never have to get to a second tiebreaker. All right. So that's going to be the goal there. Question-wise, the multiple choice, they're going to be all multiple choice. There will be some styles of questions that will go from, these are all true except. Okay, so they have to know they have to eliminate, not necessarily just find the correct, they have to eliminate the wrong answer rather than find what is the right answer. So I'm going to do that. I may have a few questions that may go multiple. And again, those will be 3-point questions. But again, having a list of items, 1 and 2 right, 1 and 3, so forth down the line, 1, 2, 3, all of them are doing that one. Okay? So again, getting kind of used to the style of question. For some of our 6th graders, they're going to have to get used to doing that. They're going to have some of those type of questions maybe in junior high. So again, it's getting them used to kind of answering the questions. Okay? So we could potentially have examples of those. Yes?
I'm sorry, going back to the second tiebreaker, you said it was going to be a question?
Correct.
Essay, multiple choice?
Oh, essay. Yeah, and again, it's going to be a single, it'll probably be 1 or 2 sentences.
Okay.
It shouldn't be more than this, and I'm not going to get all wound up about spelling.
Okay.
All right? Please. So as I explained to you before, I'm a physician.
So handwriting, they don't have to worry about the
Yeah, I mean, I like to get close. I'm going to be able to. Now, I can't make out what they're doing. There's nothing I can do about it. Okay, but I'm pretty good at making, think, okay, I know what you're getting at here. So I've always looked at that going, really, is that what you guys are picking it on? Okay, so that's going to be the second tiebreaker. It will only come into play, however, if there still isn't a break in the tie with the first tiebreaker. That's the only time. Thank you. Okay, no problem. So that's what we're going to do. I probably will also have a question or 2 or so where I will have, for one station, I will have a graph or a chart, and again, have the material within it, but then having question 81, whatever the question may be, and what it fill in the blank. Okay, so again, going back to clouds, I may have actually description of clouds, and then actually again a couple of these things fill in what is the what is the cloud type. Okay, well primarily yes, ice crystals, usually indicating fair weather, but may actually some bad weather serious. Okay, things of that nature. All right, so again you can fill in the blank that way. All right, but that may be one station that you have. Okay, and usually it's always going to be, I'm never going to have something that 2 items will count, can be, it can be two different answers to one question. There will always be a single answer. So again, there's one right answer. All right. I know somebody asked earlier, will I have you guys be able to look at the test? The answer is no. Okay, I won't have to be discussing questions in that. I don't think it's fair. I think we're putting time in here, and actually, what's gone on over the last couple of years is that these kind of questions, these kind of tests, are all undergo meta-analysis. Believe it or not, they take a look at questions that are poor and doing things of that nature, and being able to fine-tune this. This has really gotten pretty high tech. All right, so again, just try to sit and individually answer a question and dispute an answer to a question again. Part of it, actually, again, that takes away from what the kids are doing. We're as parents now getting our nose into this standpoint and doing that route, and it's, again, getting to the winning and losing. That's not what this is about, okay? I want the kids to do, love to see them win medals, but again, the whole interest in this is actually to learn and to enjoy, okay? All right, I'm not gonna do historical storms, okay? I don't think there's any reason for going back and forth and learning about those. Having an understanding, but they ask questions about it, it's not, that's just rote memorization for those kind of things. I don't think it's necessary. Same thing with historical figures. So sorry if everybody has it. I think it's a good thing to learn about, but I'm just not going to ask any questions. I have no problems with it. But again, I won't do that. Let's head to true and false. Any specific questions from anybody?
Current events?
Again, won't, because you know what, the test is made out ahead of time.
Okay.
So again, as I told up in the group, my hope is actually, again, the test is going to be in their hands 2 to 3 to 4 weeks prior to the event. God, I hope so. So again, having things that are going to change, I don't know. Again, kind of difficult to do it. Things that, again, haven't been done. I'm going to try to be more of the common sense stuff. I'm not going to get really esoteric. Although somebody asked me the other one, and going, what about like derecho? Actually, derecho is actually, people have heard that term now. That's nothing. 10 years ago, that would have been kind of like, what? Now we've heard that. I don't think I would do a hoop though. Those are fun. But I'm going to try to stick with that. As I told actually things, my fallback on any kind of definition, I will probably use the definitions in the glossary through the American Meteorological Society, okay? It's got it there. Guys, do not go through it and try to memorize all the things in the glossary. That's probably over 200 pages long, okay? But we're going to look at things like barometers, thunderstorms, those kind of things, the definition of those, okay? I do find it necessary. I want the kids to understand the differences between watches and warnings and advisories, okay? There will be questions on this, all right? Because they're not really done. I want the kids to understand, because most of us adults don't know what the difference between these things are, okay? And I think it's actually really useful, okay? So I want kids to take out of this, when do I prepare for bad weather, okay? What does it mean, okay? So we're not getting ourselves caught. So nobody told me anything was coming. Those kind of things. I'm sorry, you had a question.
Last year we were given like a list of topics to focus on. Is there anywhere we could get one of those?
I mean, I put down a whole bunch of things that to go with, to focus on. Again, the things that we need to go along with on that one. Atmosphere, okay, layers, composition, okay. I'm not going to ask specific things. How many % of nitrogen is there in the atmosphere? Okay, you don't need to know that. Should you know actually nitrogen makes up majority of the atmosphere? Yes, okay. Should we know that actually the amounts of gases in the atmosphere decline as you go up and go up higher? Yes, okay. Should you know by what percentage? No, okay. I don't want the kids, I'm not going to ask one just by how much % does it go down, okay. I want them to know the generics, as you get higher, temperature goes down, okay. And doing those kind of things. Maybe know why temperature drops, okay? In that, the lack of collisions and so forth down the line. But those are the kind of things. Same thing with air pressure, okay? That air pressure declines. Why again? Because we have less molecules, okay? But I want them to understand why this changes, okay? But I don't necessarily need to know exact levels and everything else. As I said, there's a couple, the atmosphere, where's the thickest in the planet, okay? The atmosphere thickest at the equators, it's thickest at the poles, it's thickest at middle line. You can find that information pretty easily, believe it or not. Okay? But again, but to know, you know that and know how that affects actually, it actually affects actually our weather and climate. Solar weather, no, okay? Know a little bit about why seasons occur, of course. We want to know that. And so forth. You know, I may ask a question is, you know, where is the Earth closest, when is the Earth closest to the sun? And give it choices of months. Okay. The answer is this month. So believe it or not, even though it's really cold, we're actually closest actually now. We're good thing. You want to know about air pressure, explain why, how is it measured. We want to know about fronts. Okay, so this, in particular, cold fronts and warm fronts. Those are the two biggest items. We can learn a little bit about the occluded and the stationary, but again, not too much. But by far, you want to know what happens with a warm and a cold front. Weather maps. I want just the little bits of materials. Again, what does a cold front look like? What does a warm front look like on a map? Okay, and the little weather barbs that you get. Again, that little circular thing where you see maybe a coming across it. Again, knowing what that is, the circular is again cloud cover. Again, wind direction, and again there'll be temperature, humidity, and atmospheric pressure. Okay, I'm not going to describe, but again, by looking at those to maybe be able to, and again, this may be one of the 3-point questions. Again, if I'm going to give you a picture or a projection, okay, what's on either side? So again, if we have temperature differences on either side of a line, you get kind of a line in there, what just went through a cold front. You got warm weather here, cold weather here, you need a cold front's coming through. Okay, but the kids can look at that little bit of information and understand, okay, that's what's happening. Okay, and be able to look at that real quickly. The water cycle, I think, is always important to know a few questions about and understand that. Almost all the kids pretty much have gone, except maybe the third graders. I don't know if that's who does third and fourth.
They talk about it in the second.
Do they talk about it? See, already getting it a
But
little
then they
bit.
get into detail.
Yeah, they get into more detail. So again, most of these kids will have a little bit of an understanding about where this comes from. Of course, we're going to know our good storms. We are going to know our thunderstorms. We're going to know our hurricanes. We're going to know our tornadoes, and we're going to know our blizzards. Okay. Why did they occur? Severity of that. To know about the enhanced Fujita scale, but to know exactly the number, the wind speeds, and everything else. Just know that it gets stronger as time goes on. Okay. Again, a generic version about what most of the tornadoes are. Most tornadoes EF zeros or more of them EF 5s. Okay. So again, you can think which are more. Okay. Which ones are more severe? Okay. So those are the kind of things, but you don't need to know exact wind speeds and things of that nature and destruction things. Those are things that you look up. Those are people who do storm details can look at that. But to understand what do these things mean. Same thing for the Stanford-Simpson scale for hurricanes. Okay, severity-wise. Okay, so those kind of things to know what that means and what again, what does it entail? Okay. But I'm not going to say it's a hurricane has 135 mile an hour speeds and doing this one. What scale is it? Where does it fit? No, I don't think that's necessary to know. You don't have to know that kind of detail. But to realize actually as the numbers as we get from 1 to 5, it increases in intensity. Okay. Winds, what creates them? Okay. Which affects them. I do actually think it's a good idea to know about the wind patterns. Okay, both with regards to westerlies, prevailies, and easterlies, and that, and also about the Hadley cells. Okay, look at that term. Okay, because again, it kind of explains why weather occurs. Okay, so to have an understanding. Again, when somebody asks the exact numbers, the realization on that one again, all these things occur, and there's a reason for it between 0 and 30, 30 and 60, 30 and 60 and 90. So again, that's all that they need to kind of information to know. All right, most of them will probably be on a diagram or something of that nature and understanding without having to have the exact numbers. Okay, I may say like the trade winds, these are closer to the equator, than actually in our area. The questions are going to be based on northern hemisphere, so we're not going to be asking about storm spins and things like that in other hemispheres and everything else. Basically, concentrate on whether that's above the equator, certainly the northern hemisphere. So, again. The more common of our instrumentation, so anemometers, barometers, altimeters, thermometers, radiosondes, okay? Knowing what a radiosonde does, why we do it, those kind of things. but we're not going to get into really small, small items of that nature. I'm not going to get into specific types of radars and everything else. We have to know about dual pole and all those, but know about a radar, know what a Doppler, the Doppler radar. Okay. Again, you look through most any book, you're going to see some of these things about tornadoes, a hook echo, what a hurricane looks like. Okay. The difference actually again across the board with regards to hurricane again. What's it? Know what the description of a tropical depression, a tropical storm, and a hurricane is. Okay. So again, if I give a listing of different items from that standpoint, that one actually might come up a little bit actually there, because again, that is kind of the difference there, that wind speed again between a tropical depression and a tropical storm. Okay, so that might be one of those things that again, that little bit of a difference, that may come up, because again, with a tropical storm, you're going to have an eye. It may not be a storm, but you're going to have an eye. But again, there's difference in weather, in terms of wind until it hits 74 miles per hour. So. Like I said, I do want the kids to understand what the idea is between warnings and watches and advisories are. So again, if we get descriptions of that. Okay, anything else? I think I could go on to that question.
I have one more. I guess on the topics may include paragraph, at the very last is the historical figures in the field of meteorology.
Should not be on that one. It's not, if it's there, that's not existing, it should be off of that one. Didn't even printing up.
I could have printed up another one.
If you did, you may have, because the new one should not have that.
Okay.
So.
I printed mine last night.
All right, we'll make sure it's not. That I will tell you guys, it will not be on.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So please let all your people know. No, that's okay. Yeah, it's exactly my feeling. What do we look at? That's not what the whole point on this. All right. Anything else? Okay, yes, ma'am.
I understand this year, instead of using like the Scantrons, they're going to use a zip drive.
Yep.
Okay, so like when you had mentioned when they first get into the room,
Uh-huh.
you're going to have like general questions.
Uh-huh.
So will they start with like 1, 2,
But
all
I
of them?
will make a decision on what we do with that. It will either be at the very beginning or very end of it. And we'll make sure. Generally, at things, again, my experience last year was, this was my first time I ever moderated, because the one woman who was doing it, I had to do it. So again, I had a couple of helpers make sure the kids knew where they needed to start before we said start. Okay? So we will go through, we'll make sure that the kids are on, because I agree with you. We don't want to miss
Because I mean, obviously, if you have like, say, 10 questions, and they're going to be 1 through 10, and then
Right.
they're all going to be at different stations. Some might start at 20, some might start.
Correct. That's why, but again, then they know that they need to start on this section. After you answer these questions, 1 through things, you will start here on your section, because it will be listed as a question, you start here.
Yeah.
Okay? But I will either have it at the very beginning, and then depending on the number of questions, either 4 or 5 will start here, and so forth on line, but we'll make sure your kids are on there. No, you get it. I agree with you. It's one of those, so we still have those scaries from our days in high school and college that we mislabeled. We started wrong on our Scantron. I don't know anything more particular about this zip system, to tell you the truth. I'm probably going to hear more about it later today myself, so I can't give you anything more. I'd go to the website and actually find out a little bit more. So I'm unclear. I was just notified a couple of weeks ago, asking how much interaction I want with it. So, but it is nice to be able to do it that way. Anything else?
Sorry, I missed the question the gentleman had up in the front earlier. You answered.
There was one question actually about that. I guess this sheet may still say historical figures, and the answer is no.
All right.
It's the rules.
Yeah, under the rules. Yeah, under rules that was printed up on the website. It's on the website right now. Yeah, it shouldn't be there, and I'll make sure that it's updated. Okay. Because like I said, I just don't think that's what we want to really be looking for the kids and for them to do it. Because like I said, my biggest goal is to make sure that kids understand why weather occurs, okay? And so they'll have a better understanding of day to day, because we're affected by it all the time. I guess you should actually know a little bit, again, going up on that one, difference between what is weather and what's climate, okay? So they kind of have an understanding. Climate is over a period of time, where weather is what's going on at that moment. Okay, so if we describe something, what is not, what is a weather versus climate, and so forth. I probably wouldn't do that. I may have a single question. I won't do that as one of the questions for the matching. Because again, somebody can try to make a dispute on that one in terms of that one. I don't think that was a fair one. one. But again, maybe a question, but have an understanding, over time. Like I said, climate would be more, it usually averages 76 degrees on July things, where it's 72 degrees outside right now. Again, climate versus weather, okay? But to have that understanding. Anything else? Last question. Maybe I'd actually just now answer it. Just have what they had last time.
Something special about Michigan weather?
One more time, sir?
Michigan weather.
No. It's a good question. Actually, I haven't thought of it very much there. I guess it would be more, not necessarily Michigan, but again, different areas. Again, Great Lakes may have this going on more often, okay? In certain regions, rather than specifically the state, it'd probably be more of a regional issue, okay? And the biggest one, what do we get effect here? Lake effect snow, okay? So again, and again, that's not a bad question to know about, okay? Why does lake effect snow occur, okay? And when is it, when do you tend to see it more often in the winter, okay? And it's going to be early in the season, not usually. So, although the last couple of years, I think they went on quite long, because we never got the freeze actually on the lakes. Where like 3 years ago, it was non-existent after like early December, because everything froze. So once that water freezes, there's no more lake effect snow. It's actually that elevation there, so it's actually really cool. So we've been getting a ton of it the last couple of days. So, anyways, anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Tides and the moon, how that relates. It's a good idea. No.
Trying to think actually if I do.
A high tide, they know how to read something like that.
No, I didn't think actually I do that one. I may actually things like high tides may affect things like hurricanes in terms of destruction type of an issue, but in terms of being able to read it, no, and when they occur. Again, specific question, no, but again, knowing that tides can affect storm surge and things of that nature, but specifically otherwise, no. It's a good question. I didn't thought of that. So I just don't think it's actually, and it serves any value for it. That's a good question. Yes? Yes?
Like jet streams and typical weather directions or wind directions?
Yes. Again, yeah, jet streams are definitely in there, and again, that's one of those things influencing weather and for weather patterns. Yeah. And doing those kind of things. And just knowing that they're effective and things of that nature. Maybe again, where they usually occur in the atmosphere, okay, is something that might come up, okay? So I think that's worthwhile. So, and again, all these areas that I seen, I know they've talked about where the jet stream's at and everything else, and how the pattern in the movement, and again, affecting weather patterns, bringing down air masses and things like that are actually affected by jet stream. Okay. Anything else? All right. I guess this one will be available actually on that one, the video from that standpoint. Again, questions, how they operate for this one. If you have any questions whatsoever, go through the website. I think they said it was under the frequently asked questions. How to send one over. They send batches of questions to me. So don't think actually, again, you may ask a question and expect me to return it that night to look. I don't know how quickly they'll be batching. I'll depend also on what I have available from that standpoint to try to answer questions. But they want to do it that route, so now everybody actually has what question you ask, but also have the answer to that question, so everybody's operating on the same playing field. Okay, I'm happy to try to answer any questions that we have from that standpoint. I'm looking forward to the experience of working, with your kids and for your kids. There may be transitions that will occur between the districts and that. Again, I'll be willing to listen to people's input, again, through the site and everything else. Try to keep everything constructive. I'm more than willing to do it. And just like anybody, I may get my hand on something if we can to get a little bit more offensive in that one. My goal is to try to make sure that we keep, to give your kids a good experience. And I'm willing to make changes that I think are actually beneficial, and by all means, we'll listen to everybody's input from that standpoint. But it's not necessarily just because, again, I don't like to hear this great. I don't care about anything else. My job is to try to make a good learning experience. Anything else? All right, have fun, relax with it though. Maybe probably, if you can do about an hour per week with your kids, you probably
After they've driven